Hello, Casey Wilson, owner of Roseville Strength and Conditioning and one of your co-hosts of the Do or Do Not podcast. And this is...
I am the slightly older Brad Erie.
How much older?
What? Your birthday's
coming up.
Like 3 or 4 months older than you. You got to respect your elders.
Yeah. Mine's on March 2nd.
Yeah.
Possibly. All right. So today we're going to do one of those educational podcasts for the people who are only canon people, who never read the books, never played a game, never read a comic. Not that I'm a big comic reader, but I am this year going to get into reading some of the comics that relate to things. And I found that there was a comic series that had Revan in it. And that is what we're talking about today. We're going to talk about Revan, or Darth Revan, depending on what period of time it was in, because he was a Jedi and a Jedi Knight and a Sith.
Well, this is clearly going out the bar because I know she loves Star Wars.
Who?
You know who?
She doesn't watch our Star Wars episodes. She only watches the fitness ones.
This is going to bring her right back in.
Absolutely not.
I just want to say 2 things before you start. One, I started into Star Wars video games so I can get the 411 on some of these other things.
You did?
Yeah. And 2, Scourge. All right, take it away, my friend. Let's go.
I don't know why you have such a Woody for Scourge. I barely remember him in the books. He wasn't that big. I mean, he was in it. Yeah, I guess so. He was in it. But, I mean,
he got the gift of, like
the book's called Revan.
Yeah, but Scourge had the ultimate prize, and he technically won.
He didn't win crap. All right, so one of the ongoing themes, since we're a little bit older, as discussed at the start of the podcast, is there's a lot of people that only have watched the movies. A lot of them in the last 10, 11 years, the younger Star Wars fans have only watched the, how do I say it nicely? The stuff that Kathleen Kennedy, the woman who wants to be George Lucas, but is a horrible impersonation of it, has put out and allowed to happen in our Star Wars universe. You don't know anything about Legends. You've never read books. I run across people all the time that have no clue about the books. The books, there's so much material in the books that dwarfs by, I don't know, I would guess 100 times how much has been put out there in live action and cartoon form. And recently Dave Filoni talked about how the comic books and the video games are all pretty much canon now, are all part of the Star Wars universe. Yep. They didn't go so far as to say the books on Legends would, because that would totally counteract, as I was discussing with Brad before the podcast happened. I was saying we're going to talk about Revan today, and he is probably top 3 for sure in the top 5 of almost everybody's Force user, the most powerful Force user of all time.
And he's extremely popular. That I do.
But we talked about Luke, and I was like, well, Luke, really, the Legends Luke, the Luke in the books that happened, not the Luke Skywalker in the sequel trilogy,
the pansy Luke,
not the canon Luke, but the Legends Luke was the most powerful Jedi of all time. I think it's hard to argue. Maybe if you go to Force users, you could say Darth Vitiate, the former emperor of the Sith Empire, who kept surviving life after life, may have been, and he's the one who we'll talk about with Revan a little bit later, is the one who converted Revan into being a Sith because he was so powerful. So, getting into that, this is Darth Revan, and this is Revan. So Revan started out as a Jedi. He was a prodigy. He was had amazing control of telekinesis. He was a great lightsaber dueler. He had all the skills, and everybody acknowledged that he would be a great Jedi Knight, and he had all the Force abilities. And he studied under multiple masters or Jedi Knights. He was a Padawan too. He started out with a Jedi called Traya. And guess what Traya became?
Who?
She turned to the dark side too and became a Sith.
Well, you could just never trust women.
But just not like a super. I guess she wasn't. When we think of Darth Vader and Darth Sidious and how evil they were, not all Sith were like I mean, they were all bad. Don't get me wrong, but
there's a spectrum of evil. You're saying?
Yes, it's not like all like I'm going to rule the whole universe, but they're all evil. and they're all on the dark side, no doubt about it. But in general, Traya went from being a Jedi to being a Darth, and that was her first one. And he studied under everyone's, but he was kind of a prodigy. Everybody knew he was like, oh, this guy's the real deal. He may be the most powerful, eventually be the most powerful Jedi out there. And he probably was at that time. And this was about 3,900 years before the Battle of Yavin, BBY, as everybody refers to.
I like how you're looking at me for validation. I think you're wrong, Casey.
Part of this podcast is not just to educate people out there about it. And the main thing is
42 BBY.
It's to educate Brad, because Brad read the book and hardly remembers anything.
Scourge.
He remembers Scourge from the book. And it's like, all right, let's educate. And then this helps me like remember stuff too, because if I don't read, I haven't read Revan in 3 or 4 years. So you start to have all that stuff go in your mind. But everybody recognizes Revan because he has a Mandalorian mask on. And they all remember him because
purple lightsaber.
He is literally one of the only, I think he's the only one, but I don't know, maybe in a comic book or something, but he went from being a Jedi, a hero of the Republic, to being a Sith master who almost destroyed the New Republic, to going back to being the hero of Republic as a Jedi again.
Yep.
So he has an amazing story, and what has been done with his story over the years is amazing. The book is great. Read Revan if you haven't read it. But going over what his story arc was, and basically what he did is he studied under a bunch of Jedi masters and knights, and then was eventually elevated up to a Jedi Knight, but he was never sold on the whole Jedi thing. He was somebody who was always curious about the dark side, and so everybody knew he was a prodigy.
Yeah.
But they also, you remember how Anakin Skywalker was a prodigy and had so much ability, but the Jedi Council did not make him a master?
He had a high midichlorian, is that how you say it?
Midichlorian. He had a but just as an example, what's the reason why they didn't want to elevate him?
I don't remember.
Oh my God!
You know what?
This is what I'm dealing with, folks.
I'm old, unlike you. There was
a lot of conflict inside of Anakin Skywalker. There was a darkness there, and all the Jedi Council knew it. And although he was doing the right things at the time and working, with the Council, they did not want to elevate him to master because they sensed this conflict and did not think he was ready to take on those responsibilities of being a Jedi Master and sitting on the Council.
And they were right.
And they were absolutely right. And with Revan, they were right too. They sensed as a young Jedi Knight, and when he was a Padawan, that he had all this ability, but he also was curious and conflicted about the Force. And he was a very learned Jedi. So he wasn't just somebody like Anakin who wasn't much of, I wouldn't call Anakin a most learned Jedi. He was powerful, but he wasn't a philosopher. He wasn't studying the Force. Revan was a genius tactician, but also genius because he studied everything and tried to gain as much knowledge as possible about the Force, kind of like Darth Sidious did. And if you read anything about Darth Sidious, you read how he came up. He was absorbing knowledge. He was learning from the Jedi and the Sith. Sidious learned a very powerful skill from Darth Revan, because Darth Revan was the first one to really use it. Yeah, and only a handful of Jedis, and we'll get into that a little bit later too. But he was very intelligent. He was very learned, a philosopher type, kind of like a Qui-Gon Jinn.
Kind of.
If you want to relate it, kind of a mixture of Anakin and Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon was not sold on all the Jedi Council's bullshit, because the Jedi Council had been kind of like, for so long, they felt safe. They'd become this weak force. They became too diluted, and that's why somebody like the rule of two with Darth Sidious and whether it's Maul or Darth Tyrannus or then Darth Vader, they were so powerful because the dark side was basically all flowing into those two. Where the Jedi Knights, there was the light side of the Force was kind of more spread out all over things. The same reason Luke Skywalker became such a powerful Jedi is because he was so gifted, but also there wasn't a lot of Jedis anymore, were there? So
there's only so much Force
that you can channel and be super powerful through this Force. Plus, you midichlorians, are you the chosen one? All this stuff. Certain like Revan, a lot of people thought he was the chosen one. He really wasn't, but that's how powerful he was. That they put him on that level.
I mean,
and that's why I love
the scourge.
I love his story because then he became a Sith and became the super powerful.
Yeah.
Basically, the Jedi and the Sith both erected statues to him. This is what a badass Revan was. That's why I love the story, because when he became a Sith, he became a badass Sith. He was devious. He embraced being a Sith. And so he was stabbing people in the back. He's a master tactician. So but he did things that were just amazing. So with that being said, he went through his training, became a knight. And then what happened was the Mandalorians, and we all know the Mandalorians, even if you never read a book, we all know Mando, the Mandalorian, Grogu, all the stuff that happened in the Clone Wars. But before, they were just kind of a smaller group that had their planet destroyed by the Empire. It was a powerful planet and a powerful people, and they basically controlled most of the system. And they started branching out and started attacking other worlds and had a war to conquer because they felt they needed more power. And so Revan did not agree with this or like this. The Jedi Council did not want to act and fight against, so he gathered up a bunch of young Jedi and went out and started fighting the Mandalorians. So, that mask he has on? That mask he picked it up and put it on his head after he was at a battle. What is the battle?
That's one of the things that make him
I forget the battle.
Badass.
That's what he looks badass, but he put that on and said he wasn't going to take that off like a Mandalorian doesn't take theirs off. He wasn't taking it off till he had defeated the Mandalorians. So he puts that mask on. That's the awesome looking mask. You'll see, if you want to zoom in there, you can see those, or just look him up online. But Revan looks like a badass because he has this awesome mask on. And so when he was a Sith, he had a red and a purple lightsaber. There was Mace Windu's the only one with a purple one. Where do you think you got the idea from?
Like, I see two purple
lightsabers. This was
3,900
years before Mace Windu.
Yeah. Show off.
And he had a violet one, a purple one when he was a Jedi too. So he goes and fights a battle with Jedis, and they start winning battles.
Yeah.
And then the Jedi Council, New Republic, see the threat of the Mandalore the Ultimate, who was leading the Mandalorians. Cool name. And cool. So they backed him, and he became the supreme commander of the New Republic forces to fight the Mandalorians. And so they defeated the Mandalorians in battle.
Yeah.
And then also one of the ways they defeated the Mandalorians is he went one-on-one combat with the Mandalore the Ultimate.
Oh, really?
One-on-one combat and killed him.
Is that in a comic or is that in a video game?
It's in the book too, but it's in the video game too.
I gotta play a video.
They discuss those things. It's all flashbacks, I think, in the book, because he had it. We haven't got to that point yet. But anyway, he beat the man. And if you know the Mandalorian culture, you basically, if you beat the leader, you become the leader, right?
Yep.
But he basically, they defeated the Mandalorians, and then he decided he didn't want to be a Jedi anymore. And he was already going down that path before the Mandalorian thing happened. But then he stayed on as a Jedi. But then he wanted to search out and learn more about the Force that wasn't just taught by the Jedi and approved by the Jedi Council. So then he goes out and gets advice from Darth Traya.
Ooh.
But he starts wanting to, investigate, what's going on in the universe. And so he wants to learn more. And so that's when him and his number 2 in the battle against the Mandalorians, Malik, he's a Jedi, very powerful Jedi himself, not as powerful as Revan, but he was a very powerful Jedi and very unscrupulous. But anyway, they make their way to Dromund Kaas, which is the Sith homeworld, the capital of the Sith.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically, I'm skipping over parts of the story just because I could sit here for an hour and talk about little details.
I'm in.
And I don't remember them all, specifically. But how he got turned to the dark side was by Darth Vitiate. Vitiate was the emperor of the Sith Empire. So think about the Sith as we remember them as the power of 2, or, the Darth Bane's wrapped up in Revan too, because what's it called? The blank of 2, not the power of 2.
I know what you're talking about though.
There's 2. There can only be 2 Sith at one time. Darth Bane started it. That also came from Revan in his studies of Revan. Like Bane was researching the holocrons and came across Revan, and got the whole idea of the rule of two. So there's only 2 Sith at any given time.
Master and apprentice.
Master and apprentice. So
see, I know that.
So him and Malik go in search of. So what happened? The Mandalorians at the end said we didn't really want to go to war, but this Sith Lord came to us and told us this prophecy and convinced us to go to war. And so they research, try to find who it is, and they find out it's the Emperor Darth Vitiate. So they go to Drummond Koss and they're going to kill him. And they go in and they don't realize this motherfucker is powerful. This guy has absorbed 800 former masters.
Yeah.
Like he absorbs their energy and it draws it into himself. You know, like he's used these sorcery techniques to draw it in and also like suck the life out of whole planets.
Oh my God.
He is super powerful and they don't know this.
Yeah.
They're walking into a shit storm.
Yeah.
Right? No matter how powerful Revan was and stuff, he was going in, guy. And so what Vitiate did is he overpowered them.
Yeah.
Took over their mind controlled them, basically, is what you can call it in most simple terms, used the Force to control their minds, and sent them back to the Republic to build an army. And they went to this place called the Starforge.
Yeah.
And they started making ships in the Starforge and built an army because a lot of Jedis didn't necessarily like, and then there were Sith involved. They didn't like everything that was going on in the New Republic, the Jedi Council. There was people that would, flake away. So there's kind of a schism a little bit in the Jedi.
Yeah.
So he was able to convince a lot of them to come over here. But anyway, he builds this huge force from the Starforge, him and Malik. And they literally are, and he knows exactly the tactics of the New Republic and the tactics of the Jedi. So he's kicking the shit out of the New Republic, or not the New Republic, the Republic.
Yeah.
We're just so used to calling it the New Republic, the Old Republic, blah. But it's just the Republic.
High Republic.
Yeah, it's just the Republic. So he is literally kicking, and it would have been the Old Republic, technically. His time would have been the Old Republic. Yeah. But he is beating them badly. And then him and Malik decides he's not doing enough. He's only defeating the Republic and not ready to take over the Republic. But Malik decides he's not doing enough and not being brutal enough. So he goes after Revan, and they have a battle where Revan removes his jaw with his lightsaber. He has to wear an artificial jaw thing after that. So if you've ever seen pictures of Darth Malik, he has this thing around his face because Revan took his jaw off. Yeah. But he ordered him to fire on Revan's ship. So Revan's ship was going to be destroyed, and a Jedi named Sean. Her last name was Sean because they eventually have a kid that's named, or is it Tron? I don't know. Anyway, it's a woman. It's a woman Jedi.
Yeah.
It's a woman Jedi. There's a lot of detail, so I don't remember every specific thing because I'm not a nerd. I don't sit there and try to memorize.
Oh, you're everything. A nerd. Don't fight it.
Well, I'm a nerd, but I'm not a nerd like the guys that go,
again,
BBY 3982.
Yeah. 0.7.
Yeah. I don't explain it in those terms like those guys do. They sit and rehearse it and stuff like that. I don't. But anyway, she saves him and takes him into custody because he's, and takes him back to the Jedi. Then the Jedi basically realize we're not powerful enough to beat Malik on our own, but Revan is. So they use all their power to block his memories of being a Sith.
Yeah.
And they do that, and they turn him back to being a Jedi. And he ends up eventually he marries that Jedi that saved him.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy's he's slinging some dick.
He's
whooping people's asses. He's taking over being a Sith. He takes over being a Jedi. He's about to rule the whole thing. This is how powerful this guy is. And then a female Jedi rescues him, takes him into custody, arrests him pretty much, takes him to the New Republic. Then he eventually marries her.
Yeah, that's pretty smooth.
He's a badass all the way around. All the geeks out there have never been laid. He's getting it. He's getting after it.
Yeah.
So
there's a reason why his lightsaber's purple.
That's right.
Come on.
That's right. It'd be better if it was like bright blue.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he defeats Malik.
Yeah.
Becomes a well, no, he already did that.
Yeah.
He defeats and kills Malik.
Okay.
They defeat his armies or whatever.
I got what you're saying now.
But anyway, he goes and defeats Malik, who's trying to destroy the Republic because the Jedi had blocked his memory. So he becomes a hero of the Republic again. But everybody knows this all the Jedi Master stuff. We don't want this guy to regain his memories.
Yeah.
Right. This guy, we don't want him to think about.
We don't want to against us.
We don't want him to ever think about becoming a Sith again.
Yeah.
You know, so they really hide his past from him, and he wants to know these memories because he has little flashes here and there, little feelings and flashes, and things are going on. So he is obsessed with this. And this book is what you'll start remembering. Like he goes in search of his past.
Yeah.
So they have a lot of flashbacks. They go over his history a lot, but then a lot of the book towards the end is this, where he goes looking for his memory, starts retracing where he was with Malik or Darth Malik at that point, and where they were doing things. And he gets back to, he needs to kill this emperor, Emperor Vitiate. So he goes to kill this emperor again, and the emperor imprisons him for 300 years.
It's crazy.
Tortures him for 300 years.
Yeah. Doesn't break him though, right?
And then eventually, I think it was 300 years. I want to say it was 12, and then he got rescued, but something happened where he was, for 300 years, he was being tortured. No, that's right. It was 300 years. And he was so he eventually split himself into two people, a light side of the Force and a dark side. So there was two Revans.
Yeah.
And he had the power of the Force to form a physical body and hold it together with the Force, because he had such powerful will that he wanted to kill this emperor. And so even though, this emperor was torturing him and killing him and stuff and doing all these, for this many years or whatever, Vitiate lived lifetime after lifetime. And eventually Revan did not kill him per se. Another Jedi had killed him before, like a Jedi, had came in and killed him, like I think 3 years before he was able to be rescued or something like that. So anyway, he has so much power and his will is so strong that he brings himself back to life.
Now that's
and
badass.
The dark side.
Yeah.
He brings himself back to life and holds himself together in a physical being because he wants to kill them. Then he finds out this emperor had been killed already. But he wants to resurrect him and kill him again the right way. He goes, you guys didn't kill him the right way. He can come back.
Yeah.
But they were like, we're not the Sith and the Jedi were like, we're not resurrecting shit. That guy is way too dangerous. We're not resurrecting. He wanted to do this. So anyway, they stop him. The Jedi stop. He basically
killing you until you're
He basically merges back with his light side and becomes a Force ghost, which, as we know, being a Force ghost is a power all of its own.
Yeah.
But if you go over like how powerful this guy was and what he did, that was one of the craziest powers. You know what the other power that basically he discovered was the Force Storm. You know when Sidious shoots the lightning out of his hands? Well, there's ways to do it to where you can create a storm of it, and you can destroy a whole planet.
Oh my god!
In the comic books, it's not really. It might be in some of the books that I haven't read. There's not very many of them, but there's some, because I never really cared much about Sidious after Return of the Jedi. But there's like a time where Sidious's ghost turns Luke to the dark side for a short time. It's a very short time, but he does. But there maybe in some other things. I'm not sure the exact source of it. But Sidious would send these Force storms through like a portal he would create to a planet and destroy the whole planet. It would kill everything.
Wow.
Well, guess where he got the idea? He got it from, and the thing that made Sidious more dangerous is because he could direct these Force storms. Revan was able to develop these Force storms, but he could only kind of generally send it in a direction, but he couldn't really control it. And Sidious got to the point where he could control where he was sending it. He could make it more directional. And Revan's the one who basically, he discovered it by studying a holocron of Revan.
Oh my god,
Darth Revan. But Revan had the power of shoot electricity out of his hands, or the Force lightning. Lightning shield where he could protect themselves. And it was like a shield around him that like whenever somebody would strike, it would just be like lightning would shoot out. He was very powerful at telekinesis.
Wouldn't you love to see a full Revan versus full Luke battle?
They're two of my favorites, so probably not. No, I don't.
But I mean, just the power between them,
when they were both at their peaks.
Yeah, like just like the planet would tremble with each hit of their lightsaber, and
I mean that wouldn't happen, but because it's lightsaber battle. But they could both had enough power to really do serious damage.
Yeah,
but it would be interesting because Luke became so powerful
Yeah.
And he basically could do almost anything any Jedi ever could do.
Yeah.
That's what people don't realize is Luke did shit, and so did Revan.
Yeah.
Did stuff like that nobody else ever did. And that's what makes him so powerful. Now, Luke never fully went into the dark side. Like, he wasn't like living as a Sith Lord for a long time and doing this and almost conquered the Republic. He did drift over to the dark side for a very short time, but Luke could do just about anything. And so when you start going over all the powers that he had, I put some of that because I knew I wouldn't even remember him, but he would, like, you know how like Yoda would lift up the X-Wing? One of my favorite lines is like, Luke would go, I can't believe it. He goes, and that is why you fail. And that is why you fail.
Yeah.
I love that line. But you saw how tired he was. He was old.
Yeah.
He was very old at that point, not far from death.
Yep.
But it took him energy to do it. And it took a lot of, like, even Darth Vader, it would take energy for him to throw stuff and use that telekinesis. They basically, how they describe Darth Revan and Revan, even in general, is he could throw heavy things like without any energy, really. Like, it was like
just flicking it.
It was just like he was so powerful telekinesis. We obviously went over. He could bring himself back to life.
Yeah,
and hold himself together.
That is pretty good power to have.
Control of the Force.
Wish you had that, Qui-Gon.
You know, in the video games, how Cal Kestis can touch something and see the past.
Yeah.
Revan did it without touching anything. He'd just be close to something and sense it, and just sense the whole past and everything. Psychometry.
Oh.
So he could do that too. So that was pretty impressive. Literally one of the best lightsaber. I mean, he Malik killed him, but he had a great lightsaber duelist. And when you notice, when he was Darth Revan, he had two lightsabers, so he wielded. He was a master of two forms. And when we say master, meaning nobody ever beat him in battle. He beat Mandalore the Ultimate, which, if you know anything about the Mandalorians, all they are is warriors. Yeah. And if you're Mandalore the Ultimate, you're the best freaking Mandalorian warrior out there. Because it's not like, if they think they can beat you, they'll take you on. You know what I mean? That would make a great movie. Hint, hint. I know. Well, here's the thing. There's been so many rumors over the last 5 years, about the Old Republic movie coming out, and everybody wants Keanu Reeves to be Revan. He would make a good Revan. There's a lot of pictures, and people make these little video cartoons, basically. It look like it looks like Keanu playing Darth Revan. I mean, really, he's wearing a helmet, so you could just show a couple scenes without him. After the Mandalorian thing, he wears a helmet for most of the rest of his life. Yeah, but so that's pretty easy. But when he isn't, he has like these little circle lines on his face that go around like this. But let me see, did I miss anything? You would think that would be the best acting job, but I'd be like, look, we need you for about 3 days. Pay you $20 million. He became a Force ghost. That means he went from Jedi to Sith, back to Jedi, and then after he died, after splitting his essence into two, a light and a dark side, merged back together and became a Force ghost. That's pretty badass. I mean, this guy did it all. I wish he would nearly conquered the Force Republic as a Sith. And if it wasn't for Malik's betrayal, and that was his best friend, if it wasn't for that was his best friend betrayed him. But that's what Sith do. Yeah. And so Malik was his best friend as a Jedi, and his best ally friend, backstabbing son of a bitch as a Sith. But they basically almost took down the Republic. They were about ready to. They were going to when Malik did his treachery, and then that led to Revan being captured and turned back to Jedi. Malik. So no, not the Republic survived. I mean, we want the light side to win instead. But Revan took down a lot of Sith and a lot of Jedis in hand-to-hand combat. Did not take down Mandalore, Mandalore the Ultimate. So my boy Scourge. Yes, Scourge. You're. So anyway, I want to do some shots this year on the podcast of Legends characters that a lot of people that are canon people don't know, because he has never been in canon. No. He's never been in a cartoon. He's never been in anything. He's been in the video game. He's had a book written about him. And in researching like what stuff he is, I looked at, what is Darth Vader? There's actually a comic book series about the Old Republic that he's in. So I'm going to have to pick. That's my first comic book I'll probably read. Yeah. And then there was one other comic that he's mentioned in, but he's not heavily. This is what's crazy is I got 2 toys 2 action figures of when he was light and dark. This guy's never been in anything Star Wars, but
No.
everybody loves him because it's the mask. You
Yeah.
see the mask. And then also he was awesome in the video game. He's super powerful in the video game.
That's what the Old
But the
Republic
book,
video game?
Revan was just, I think it's by Karpyshyn, was amazing. He also
That
did the
was
Darth
a
Bane
good book.
He also did the Darth Bane books, which were amazing. 2 of my
Yeah.
favorite books are, there's a trilogy with Darth Bane, but then Revan just has 1 book. And I was like, they need to do a trilogy with Revan because they could dive so deep. I mean, they just touch on stuff in Revan. They do his whole history in 1 book and a lot of his flashbacks and stuff. So, and him trying to figure out what happened to him and stuff. And then there was like little flashbacks and he would remember things. So I want to sometimes go over these things that I love that aren't necessarily touched on. And I know that I read, like, I never get involved in like the pissing contests you see on things, but a lot of on Instagram, and I'm sure you see it on Twitter because I don't do, or X. I don't do that one, but I see it on Instagram a lot where somebody will post something about something, and then you'll have a bunch of people arguing. Well, no. They're just arguing because they think legends are stupid, and all those people that like legends are dumb. And we all think all the people that like the canon stuff, the sequel trilogy, and Solo, and all those other things, all the crap that Kathleen Kennedy put out, we think that's crap. And that should all be forgotten. And legends, they should go down the path of the legends. And if you see what guys like Filoni are trying to do, they're trying to bring legends into everything.
Yeah.
And for instance,
which I think is smart.
Mara Jade is going to be very soon canon. I think Mandalorian season 4 is mentioned as when she will make her debut. She ends up being Luke Skywalker's wife. They have a kid named Ben Solo, who becomes a powerful Jedi. So there's all this stuff that happens, and Kathleen Kennedy ignored all the legends and just said, I want to do my own thing.
How many movies do you think?
George Lucas's vision and the books that he approved to be done are all shit because I'm Kathleen Kennedy and I'm so smart. I'm going to create a better universe.
How many movies do you think they could have mined if they just went full into legends?
Hundreds.
Like, I mean, they could have
think of the hundreds of hours. I mean, I've listened to so many hours of books. I should go back and research because a lot of these books right now I'm listening to again. Like I'm going through the Vector Prime series. It's just I'm on the 6th book in the series, and they're only 3 hours to 3.5 hours long each book. So, but I'm in the 6th book of it, and it's when the Yuzong Vong invade. That could be a trilogy all into itself. Yeah,
I mean, you could have a trilogy of Revan. You could have, I mean,
you could tell a whole. Just
think
like
of the toys.
Let's say Revan is one of your main characters in a whole, like a new TV series called The Old Republic.
Yeah, I mean, think of all the mess they could sell at Walmart.
Think about the cliffhanger happening into season 1.
Yeah,
Revan's eyes turn yellow.
Yeah, I just think like they're just throwing away.
Turning to the dark side after being a hero. He turns to the dark side, or he's Darth Vitiate's turning him to the dark side.
Yeah.
And Droman Koss. And then season 2, you're like going, oh, no way. Revan's going to be like, especially the ones who don't know already.
Yeah.
If they start following the story and screenplay it out, like they could have 5-6 seasons of just the old. That's how they could have 10 seasons of the Old Republic.
There's so much
content. There's so much content because we're talking about Revan and stuff, but the Old Republic stretched a long stretch.
Yeah.
You could get into.
Wasn't it like 25,000 years or something?
You get into Darth Malgus.
Yep.
Shatil Shan.
Who's Scourge.
Yeah, I mean, there's all these characters that are all right there that just need to take the books being turned into screenplays.
Yeah.
And being turned into series.
And think how much money those movies would make, and then how much toys and licensing you can make. And then the new books and new comics and new properties that would come from that. Like, you're just turning down billions of dollars.
Look across here. Are any of the, besides this one, which I didn't buy, but I do like, because I like Wrecker. But none of these are canon. Boba Fett, Chrysanthemum is you also have the Razor's Crest.
Yeah.
But recently Ahsoka and Thrawn became canon, not really, because she was in the Clone Wars, so she was canon. But recently that guy became a new character. Thrawn, the Millennium Falcon obviously is very important, but This one, and this one are all from Legends and have never been in anything. Well, Luke has, but
yeah, I mean, Darth Malgus, I don't know anything about him, but I'm staring at the back of his box, and he looks so badass. Like, he looks like a mixture of a more mean-looking Darth Vader.
Do you know what Darth Malgus did?
No, I don't know anything about him.
All right. His face is messed up because a Jedi got him on Alderaan.
Yeah.
There was a battle of Alderaan. Not when it got destroyed by Tarkin and the Emperor, but there was a battle on Alderaan between Sith and Jedi, and his face got damaged. So he had to have that breathing apparatus on. But he was a badass physical specimen of a Sith. So they were basically, I'm not even going to try to like talk about it, but anyway, what he did is he had these group of commandos. Yeah. Commando Sith, Sith Knights.
That would be pretty badass.
Coming in a ship, and they were going to crash into the Jedi Temple on Coruscant.
Oh.
But he walks in with basically his lover. Yeah. And she's a badass like fighter, but they walk into the Jedi Temple as a Sith.
I think I saw that in the video game.
And they get, yes.
Oh my God.
They have it in the video game.
That
in the book too.
Yeah, that would have been like the best climax of a movie.
Yeah. So you see
all the red lightsabers glow in the dark hull of the ship. You're like, oh my God.
The guy who walks in before the ship and starts challenging the Jedi or whatever. Yeah. And he takes on a Jedi master and kills him. Yeah. And then he kills them just brutally, like no remorse, just like mocking them, stepping on them, stepping over them, just killing. He is a badass.
That is so good.
The book in the Knights of the Old Republic, there's an Old Republic book series and stuff too. He is such a badass, and he is a great character because there's this little sliver. He loves this woman who's kind of like, people think she's a slave of his, but then everybody kind of has rumors like, oh, he cares about her, because he did. He really cared about her. Yeah. But he's a Sith, and the Sith sacrifice people. Even the ones they care about, they'll sacrifice.
I haven't played that video game, but I've watched that little video game animatic at least 5,000 times.
Oh, it's great.
It is so badass.
And so the book is great too.
Yeah, I gotta have to put that on my list of things to read.
No, so there's so much material that they can do. It's ridiculous. I mean, it makes no sense as a Star Wars fan, as somebody who's read so many hours of the Legends books, and there's so many more hours I have to read just to read them all. My goal this year, one of my goals that isn't fitness related, is to read. I'm going back right now and still rereading ones that I've read before, because I'm trying to, because sometimes when you haven't read something for 20 years, you don't remember details. I mean, this whole
sometimes you read things invasion 20 months ago, you have
that's Brad. Detail. I usually, if I read something recently, I'm pretty good. Brad reads something two weeks later, he's like, Scourge, and that's all he remembers from the whole thing.
Yeah, you read that book Revan, right? I'm like, it's all about Scourge. I'm like, no, it's all about Revan. I'm like,
Scourge
really?
Is a small character.
He's
not a small character, but he's not he's
Scourge not kind of saving himself, because he knew that Revan could not defeat the Sith Master, and he's like, all right, this isn't the guy to do it, so sorry, Revan, gonna have to betray you. And then Scourge got the ultimate prize of living forever, but the downside was he would be living in agony,
and he would be Darth Vitiate.
Yeah.
So, and then there's a whole story about Darth Vitiate when he comes over and become. Anyway, I don't get it.
That'll be part 2.
That's a whole story that it's like I'm not probably as well versed in as some of the other stories, but I just want this year to hit some stuff like this where I know the basic story and I've read the books and stuff in the past. Like, I want to talk about this Yugosong Vong invasion also, and I'm not that far from being done with the books. They don't take that long to get through. I'm almost done. I think I have 1 or 2 more books after the one I'm listening to on. I think that's 8 books in the series. I haven't really looked that far ahead, but I know how the story ends, and I know we're not that far from it. It is an amazing, and there's a bunch of different authors wrote these books. There's not one author that wrote this series. I'm on the 6th book, and I think it's the 3rd or 4th author.
Yeah.
So it's a great book series, and they're shorts. They're like 3.5 hours. So I will, once I'm done with those books, we'll do a podcast and just discuss the Yugosong Vong War and what happened, because it is badass.
I'm excited.
And the way it tested Jedi, and then they set up with what's going on. They so preset what's going to happen in the future. And then what's going to happen in the future is one section that I've never read the books on, when you have Darth Kaitis, who was Jason Solo, and there's a whole, and I haven't done I know a little bit about it, but I don't know a lot. So I'm going to go through and read all that, because I already read the final series, the final 8-book series, or was it 9-book series? The Aftermath of the Jedi or something like that.
I'm excited for us to talk about the new Rey trilogy coming up and how much
you just want to get me going again.
I do.
You liked how riled up I got.
Oh yes.
I don't have. I see. I got it all out that time.
I know. I need that anger back.
Yeah, no, I got all that out last time because I was fuming about that racing. You know what?
I got to look at this.
Go ahead. And when
Jedi Knight Raven.
Yes.
That is so cool. For the folks who are only listening, you're missing out.
Yes. And if you notice,
you should go to the YouTube because Casey is shirtless.
The red.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he looks more badass as a Sith. But then
he does look
everybody looks more badass, except for Luke. Look at Luke. When Luke came in,
how many
on the
Jedi?
Mandalorian?
Yeah.
That guy, I was like, you better watch out for that motherfucker. You know, that guy's a badass.
Luke's the only one I know who's like, you know what? I'm a Jedi. I'm still going to wear all black. Like, I don't give a fuck.
They even make reference, like the Hutts make reference, and Yugozong Bong is this Jedi Master does not look like very much because he's not a big guy.
No.
You look at him and go, what am I scared of? But
I mean, how many other...
He walks tall and he carries a big stick.
Big
glows and
stick.
He'll cut you in half in a heartbeat. He'll just squash metal like that.
He looks more Sith-like than half the Sith.
Think about him in this. He was a young Jedi in this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He wasn't even close. He didn't have a fraction of the powers he has 40 years in the future, when you read that final book series before Disney and Kathleen Kennedy fucked everything up.
See, this is why I love Filoni, because when he was in the finale of season 2, you saw the Mandalorian, whatever his name is, barely beat that one dark black stormtrooper robot.
Oh yeah.
Like he was like close to losing. Like it was a nice edge, and it was just one.
Yeah.
And then Luke's just coming in like, woo-hoo-hoo, takes them all
the whole
out.
squadron down.
Yeah, just like not even breaking a sweat. He's just like casually walking through the ship.
He's just going, shh.
Yeah, just, you know, like it's a Sunday stroll. He wasn't sweating. Like the Mando guy was like breathing heavy and used every one of his weapons and was like beaten and battered. He's like, we just got that one dead.
And what do you think Mando's thinking when he walks through all of them?
Yeah.
And Mando's just like standing there. It's like, are you a Jedi? You know?
Mando's like,
I hope you're a Jedi because you can kill all of us like that.
He's like, why are you locking the door? Because if this guy wanted through, there's none of us going to stop him. Like if he went through all of those black stormtrooper robots, what are we going to do? Yeah. Like, you know, like they were all done.
And when you consider that he's at a fraction of his future power at that point, I mean, this is why I say, or you could take Kathleen Kennedy's version of it, and he's drinking green goat milk and hiding on a freaking rock out in an ocean on an unknown planet, or a planet from way back in the day, or that used to be a Jedi
his nephew
place.
Because his nephew has a dark side.
He has a dark side, and he was just like, oh, he's much too powerful for me to handle. He would have, Luke Skywalker, if he wanted to kill Kylo Ren, would have killed him like a split second, but not in Kathleen Kennedy's universe.
No. First of all, Ben Solo, all right, didn't do anything bad that Darth Vader did. Like Darth Vader wiped out an entire planet, and Luke Skywalker's like, I'm not going to kill him. But like he killed billions of people, Luke. I don't care. There's a little bit of good. But he wiped out whole civilizations. I don't care. He's my dad. And then he goes up to his nephew and be like, look, you had one bad dream. I just have to take you out.
It's the worst story.
There's not enough good in there.
It's the worst story writing. And when you go, what is the ultimate motive for doing that? And we know that she was meddling behind the scenes. Guys, different directors, different people wanted to do different things. And she just basically said, well, that's not really works in the vision we have for it. You need to do this. She's horrible. So hopefully when she's gone this year, and I've told you this, I will pull away from all new Star Wars projects, even if Filoni does them, if Kathleen Kennedy gets signed back on as president
I can't
of
make
Disney.
that promise.
I will pull away. I will not watch anything new. I will just dive deeper into the legends, and I will stay away from any new projects, even if I really, really want to watch them. I won't watch him if Kathleen Kennedy is not let go when her contract is up. If they re-sign her again, I'm out.
I'm still Team Filoni.
There's so much good product and stuff out there.
Filoni.
There's so much good stuff out there. We just got done watching Monarch. They're doing a great job with the whole, Titan, thing. I really love what they're doing with it.
You got Reacher.
But then you have Yellowstone, and new Yellowstone shows are going to come out because now everybody's writing and acting again and not on strike. You have so many things they can do. Rebel Moon, they developed that into, I don't know. I wasn't as impressed with that as I was hoping.
You got to wait for the director's cut.
You have DC that's going to start throwing out stuff. So if I love Dave Filoni, and I think he wants to do the right thing. But if Kathleen Kennedy is holding the stick over him as the president of Lucasfilm, I'm out. So do not sign that woman. A lot of us people that love Star Wars, I don't dislike Disney either. I don't have a hate for Bob Iger, although I think he's made some bad decisions. But if he makes the ultimate bad decision and re-signs that piece of crap, Kathleen Kennedy,
you're going to have to go Darth Malgus on his ass.
You know what? Maybe I won't pull away. Maybe I'll show up down in LA with a big sword and go, look at this motherfucker. You ruined all my favorite stuff. No, it's just
we'll pick it.
I just honestly, there's so much
in a Jedi
there's so much stuff out there. I could read books for the rest of this year and probably not have read them all. But my goal is to listen. Well, not read them, but they'll listen to them all because I don't read books anymore. I just listen to them on Audible.
Reading's lame.
It's so much
better. You take one.
Now, I will say this Vector Prime series is written by different authors, but there's one person that voices, and he is horrible. Mark Thompson is the best.
He is the best.
I mean, you listen to other people read the Star Wars books, and you go, oh, no.
You close your eyes, and it's like watching a movie with all the sound effects. He imitates
the voice, all the voices and the noises very well.
Luke, he sounds like
Han, Chewie, the droids. Yeah. I mean, he's doing the voice acting on all of them. He is amazing, and these other guys, they're just reading it pretty much, and then they make their voice change, and it sounds nothing like like Han has a gruff voice, but it doesn't sound like Han Solo.
It's like, hi, I'm Han.
And then the woman's voice is like Han. It's like me doing a woman's voice.
Well, what you do to train us at nights is effective in your woman's voice. That's all.
I want you to do 5 burpees right now,
please.
It's just I really love Star Wars. If you haven't, there's a few things I'm a real nerd about.
I would never have guessed.
Yeah,
that you like Star Wars.
I do.
It's plethora of Star Wars action toys.
I don't get super
lightsaber
passionate about anything. Like I really don't. I'm not one of those people that has an addictive personality where I'm like super, addicted to something or I have lived the last 23 years in the fitness business, so I'm pretty well versed in fitness. I would say I'm a fitness nerd. Even if I don't think something works that well, I still investigate it to see what it is.
I know what see if I can make myself better.
But Star Wars is probably the most passionate thing that I am because it affected me as a kid.
Yeah. So your passions go Star Wars, granddaughter, fitness.
No, granddaughter's number 1.
Okay, come on. We don't have pictures
Daughter
of granddaughter up
number
here.
2.
We have pictures of Star Wars over here.
But I hope that my granddaughter ends up liking Star Wars. But if they put out any more shit, they sign Kathleen Kennedy on again, I'm gonna go. I don't want you to watch any of this crap, but let's watch the old stuff.
That is your job as a grandfather to make it happen. I know with me and my daughter, like we watch all the Rebels together. We're going to watch all of the other cartoon series together.
Clone Wars.
Yep. We're going to watch the Bad Batch together. We started watching episode 1. I mean, she doesn't have a choice. If she wants to live under my roof.
Yeah. I did that with my kids. And
a Cleveland Browns fan and a Star Wars fan.
Well, right there, she's already screwed.
She's screwed either way. But you know what? That'll just toughen her up. Get used to the heartbreak, kids.
Cleveland Browns, number 1 defense at home, number 32 on the road.
Well, it's pretty easy when you face the worst quarterbacks in the league at home.
What is that? That's amazing.
Yeah.
I heard that stat yesterday. I was like, are you kidding me? Really?
No.
I didn't know it was that bad.
Did you look at the name of quarterbacks that the Browns faced at home? It's like a who's who of like the worst quarterbacks you've ever heard.
Yeah. Every backup in the league.
Yeah, it's like every third string. I'm like, well, no wonder they're good at home. I could have beat some of these bumps. But anyways, that'll be my daughter's pain for generations. So yes. I'm happy to pass that along.
So in general, just to kind of wrap things up, Revan was a badass. He had a bunch of abilities, and I am going to talk about some of these Legends characters. Mara Jade's a great one. She has a great storyline and arc in the Yugosong Bong War.
I want to go deep diving on Malgus over here because I keep looking at him.
That's another one. That's actually another.
I'm going to go home and watch that video game cutaway on YouTube again just to get that feeling.
That's him walking in.
Yeah.
He walks into the Jedi Temple like, I own this motherfucker.
Me and my boys.
Nothing you can do to stop me. So all these Jedis are confronting him, and they're all like, is this guy nuts? Look at all of us. And then all of a sudden, they see that troop carrier coming in and it crashes in, and then the lid comes down and all the red, and then they just destroy they take over Coruscant. But in general, I want to do some stuff into the Legends and people that I have a strong belief that in the next year or two, as they get some of these newer projects wrapped up, if I'm Dave Filoni, and I like to think that I think a lot like him because when he does stuff, I go, that's what I would have done.
Yeah.
I think he needs to get shored up what the series are right now.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he already has storyboards he's writing for Knights of the Old Republic.
Oh my God.
The High Republic is something they've talked about because Kathleen Kennedy wants the High Republic stuff. And it's not bad. There's a bunch of new Jedi. It definitely has you can see it has the fingerprints of Kathleen Kennedy on it, but it can be used by somebody who's a Star Wars fan to be something great.
Yeah.
I think the Old Republic is much more interesting than the High Republic.
Yeah.
But the High Republic was, I like those books. I've read all the way up. They just unleashed the thing that sucks the force from the Jedi. I forget what it was called. It's been a while. It's been probably a year and a half since I read a High Republic book, but I'm behind. But because I just started diving into all the old stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I forgot about this. Like the Yugosong Vong War. I remember all this stuff, but I forgot so much now that I'm reading the books.
Yeah.
You know, so, and it's been so cool because I just got the books and read them. And I do remember them being small books.
Yeah.
Compared to some of the other stuff. But I mean, 3.5 hours, you're through a book.
Yeah. That's an afternoon.
That's a couple workouts.
Yeah.
And I'm done with this. I'm already in the 6th book. But I have all these other books on the list because I started like charting out. I didn't realize the task I had.
Yeah.
And I have to separate out what are full-size novels and what are these shorter books and what are graphic novels, because the page that I looked at, I think it might have been on Wikipedia.
Shout out Wikipedia.
But I was like, all right, this year one of my goals is to listen to all the books I've never listened to. Because there's some, I mean, I've listened to all the main ones, definitely.
What I want you to do is get like an Excel spreadsheet and just like make a timeline of like this guy goes to this guy goes to this guy. Bring it all in. We'll print it all out.
That's nerd shit. I'm not going to do that.
Oh no, nerd shit's collecting all these badass figures. Come on.
Yeah, but we use them on the show, so they're a write-off.
Oh yeah, totally.
They are a write-off.
I'm sure they're a write-off, but I mean, I'm sure when you got Raven, you're like,
since I am the main sponsor of the show, I gotta like decorate it
again. Silver Singles, if you're listening, farmers only, low T. I'll shill anything. Like I will. I'm not. Hey, I have no ego, no self-esteem.
Also, if you have any things that you would like us to discuss on the show, make a comment, and if it's a good idea, I'm all for good ideas. I'll take feedback, good or bad. The bad stuff, I'll just be like, fuck you.
So if I just write a comment of like, you should talk about more how awesome Brad is,
then that's
if I have a writing campaign. All right, yeah. Like I don't know. We keep getting this comment from B-Rad. I don't know who that is, but. He just wants to hear a lot more Brad.
He wants to see Brad shirtless.
Yeah. Just oiled up. I mean, come on.
No. So anyway, if you have any like suggestions or things you'd like, if you just happen on the show, we don't really advertise it at all. We got social
We're
media
so bad.
stuff. We like doing it.
I spend
we
more
just have
time
fun doing it.
trolling and talking to people than I do promoting, which I should probably shape that up. I mean, when was the last time you went to our Facebook page? And
I've never went to our Facebook page.
I know.
You told me I made one, and I don't know.
We made one, and I put some video on there, and they keep saying me that it's like it's been so long that they keep deactivating it.
All of our biggest hits are the shorts that I made.
Yeah,
but I don't have enough time to sit there and make all these shorts.
Stop.
That's what you're supposed to do.
No, I'm the one with the kids.
So anyway, if you do like and subscribe, that would be great. The more people that do, I mean, I've talked to a few people I know who watch, and I go, "Have you liked and subscribed?" No. Well, then it shows nothing. It's a view. You viewed it. Like and subscribe. It helps us,
Barbara, Miss. I don't know how to like and subscribe.
Hopefully, eventually, start getting in people's algorithms.
Yeah, Mom.
And we might get more people watching, and that'd be great. I think it's a lot of fun. I think we discuss a lot of stuff in a way that I don't really see on any of the other podcasts and stuff. And I like the other podcasts, but a lot of them are real.
What other podcasts?
They're either really young people that are entertaining but not super knowledgeable, or they're knowledgeable but they think the sequel trilogy is great. You know what I mean? They're just not super Star Wars fans.
Here's the thing.
They're back in 2 months before the Battle of Endor. This happened. And then a week later, I mean, it's just like they're regurgitating. I don't know.
I think we're the only podcast to go between workouts, supernatural.
We discuss everything, but
supernatural phenomenon. A little bit of Star Trek, Marvel, back to Star Wars. Like
very little Star Trek. Very little Star Trek.
Not enough. Not enough.
Very little.
I
kiboshed, and I love Star Trek too. I have no like last night. I'm like, all right, I know Revan's story, but I'm like sitting there and I go, so I spent like 40 minutes watching videos on Revan's history.
Well, you should have used that time to make shorts
and making notes about I made notes on my phone in case I forgot anything.
Yeah.
But just writing that all out,
that's dedication.
It all went up here because I typed it all on my phone, and I hardly had to look at my notes because I already knew the basic outline of it. But there were certain things I had forgotten.
Yeah.
And then when you go over what his powers were, I forgot about him forming splitting into two and doing that. I had totally blocked that out. And once I heard it, I go, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Nobody else has brought themselves back to life. Now people have transferred their essence into other Sith were very good about. There was a technique.
Palpatine.
Yeah. Palpatine, but you could transfer your essence into people. There was a lot of that, but actually bringing yourself back to life with the Force and holding a physical body together with the Force and planning on going and killing an emperor. Come on, man.
Said Sith/Jedi with a Mandalorian helmet, I'd be like, I'm in. I wouldn't even have to see him.
Yes.
I'm like, that is so cool.
So in general, we talk about a lot of stuff, but Star Wars is the thing that I get the most passionate about because I've spent so much time with it, like reading the books, watching the movies over and over, the TV series, and both of us are both jazzed up because Dave Filoni seems to be the guy calling the shots right now. Yeah. That's why I'm so worried that they're going to let
Kathleen
Kennedy hang around.
Again. You're like an abused.
We don't want to transition to somebody else.
Woman. I don't want to get my hopes up and get beat again.
Trilogy, now, if you like the sequel trilogy, all power to you.
There's no power to you. Tell us the truth.
No, I don't like it at all, but I can understand why you would like it if you weren't educated on what could have been. Because it was a beautiful movie.
They had some beautiful shots.
All three of those movies were beautiful cinematography, great special effects. The stories were shit.
Did not match at all.
Not shit, but shit. They were horrible. The stories of the sequel trilogy are the worst thing I've ever seen done by a major studio.
And I have a low bar.
Look at like Ant-Man and the Quantum. It was not a good movie.
No.
But it wasn't bad. It was entertaining. It went along comic book lines. It wasn't horrible, right?
Look, you're talking to a guy who went to a movie theater and saw the Conan remake with
Jason Momoa?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
I'm like one of the 4 people.
I've never even watched that.
Yeah. So I have a very low bar for this type of stuff. And even I come out and be like, the first 30 minutes of the final movie just take away everything that they did on the second movie. I'm like, and didn't the second movie just throw up on everything that happened in the first movie? I'm like, it's just like two competing directors pissing on each other.
Yeah.
I didn't get it.
And
I'm not very smart. And even I was like, okay, we're gonna glue his helmet back together because in the second movie he destroyed it because the other director didn't like it. But I digress.
It's the most ridiculously written trilogy of all time, and they wonder why it didn't do well.
Killed my children's my heroes.
They literally stopped doing movies because of the sequel trilogy.
Yeah,
they went. Even the execs were like, "This sucks so bad. I don't even like Star Wars, but this sucks so bad, and we lost so much money on this. We're never doing a Star Wars movie again. Disney Plus it is." And then they stayed away from Star Wars movies forever.
Yeah, I mean,
except for the ones that were already in production,
even
like
Mark
Solo
Hamill
or something.
You know, known as like the nicest guy in the universe, said, I disagree with every decision you're making.
Yes.
But I'll do it because you're the director. But I'm like, when Mark Hamill was like, when
Luke Skywalker, the greatest Jedi in the history of Jedi,
says you're doing
Force
it all
users
wrong.
Say you guys are tarded.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's very frustrating, but I'm really excited that Dave Filoni is going to be the one. And I think a lot of these characters are going to start showing up in future movies and future TV series on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And that has me excited. The only thing that has worry is they haven't fired her before her contract's up. All the rumors are she's gone after I think May of this year.
Mm-hmm.
But I worry because these Hollywood types are, well, a transition phase may hurt our rhythm and we want to keep her in for another 2 years. I'll be like, I'm out.
Can they sell it back to George?
That would be amazing. Just say, hey, George, we'll give it to you for $4 billion.
Yeah. How about we just call it even? How about we give it back to you for $2 billion?
You know what I wish? I wish Dave Filoni becomes the superpower in it. You know, like because he's going to be in charge of creative, but there's going to be a new president. And that person's going to want to have, hopefully, Iger and George Lucas and Dave Filoni and Favreau and all the people that are really helping manage this forward. Mm-hmm. This person cannot come in and screw things up. It can't be another Kathleen Kennedy coming in and screwing things up. Let the creatives who know the material make the stuff. And if they do that, Star Wars has a beautiful future that I'm excited about watching. If they Hollywood crap all over it again, it's over. Reason why all those books are so good is because of George Lucas. Guess what? This guy created it. He came up with a lot of the theories and ideas. And now Dave Filoni has taken it the next step further. He's taken what George Lucas has done. He studies it. He knows every in and out of it. He is the ultimate Star Wars nerd. And he's basically taking Legends and bringing it into canon, which is what we've always wanted as longtime Star Wars fans.
I just don't get it. If someone says, all right, so we have these series of books and video games that have sold millions and millions of copies, are beloved by fans. The stories are already written. Like there's so little invention involved. Yeah. Like all you got to do is pick some of these things, make it into a screenplay.
Said it once, we've said it 1,000 times.
And I'm like, they're like, you know what? Nah, all those millions of fans can't be right. Like, we really don't want these popular books and characters that have been beloved by generations of people and made millions of dollars. Let's just take something and crap all over it. I would have been like, it's so much easier for like production to be like, okay, we're going to do a movie about Revan. But you know what? We already know what he looks like. We already have his story. We have all this stuff already done for us. All we have to do is take it and put it on a screen.
You could do 6 movies about Thrawn. That's how much source material. There is
easy.
There is,
which I think is one of Filoni's
the Chiss Ascendancy or the Thrawn Ascendancy. The Thrawn Ascendancy. 3 books written by Timothy Zahn, who is the creator of Thrawn. And
he's part of the Holy Trinity.
And then there is multiple books like Alliances when he worked with Darth Vader and Anakin Skywalker. They flash back to that because Anakin's the one who discovered him when he was coming to, or they came across each other when he came into the Republic space. But anyway, they could do all these movies and TV series just on Thrawn, and now we're finally just touching on Thrawn.
Yeah.
After all this time, we could have been a trilogy deep into Thrawn already. Heir to the Empire.
Thrawn could have been crapping all over Rey.
Three books, Heir to the Empire. We have 3 books, The Thrawn Ascendancy, written by Timothy Zahn. Then there's several offshoot books written by him. And then he's also...
The Revan book would have made a great standalone movie like Rogue One.
Yeah, it would have been great, but no, we got Luke Skywalker being a little bitch on an island somewhere, and his nephew is a super powerful who scares the shit out of Luke, so he's scared and hiding on an island. He wasn't. He's
like a pretty lame Sith to me.
He's a lame Sith because Rey had no training and beat his ass.
Yeah,
but Luke Skywalker's scared of him.
Yeah,
it's stupid.
I mean, Finn just picked up a lightsaber.
And Luke didn't want to kill his nephew. And that story never happened in Legends. That's all Kathleen Kennedy. That's all the creatives that she put in place. And she had her fingertips all over all that crap. So it's horrible. I mean, I don't know. I've always wondered, because you read these stories about like directors coming in and then, the creatives writing, doing all this stuff, and that she was interfering, but they never get specific about how she interferes. Just that she has a basic idea of what she wants done, and if it doesn't fit, she tells you, no, don't do that, do this.
Yeah.
You would hear you watch videos on all this, and she had these different, she interfered. They were going to do 12 episodes of Mando season 3, and they had all this cool stuff planned, and she came in and goes, nope, you're only getting enough money to film 8. And don't do this, this, and this.
And we're going to give you Jack Black and Lizzo.
Oh, so you got a whole episode of that bullshit when they could have done a whole episode of something good.
Yeah.
So
we could have focused on getting all the Mandalorian factions
don't
together.
Make Star Wars,
we got to have this side.
Don't make Star Wars like Star Trek.
Hey, now.
With little musical episodes and stuff. Now we got Lizzo and Jack Black in an episode. You don't need to be Star Trek. Be Star Wars. Good quality content. That's what we need.
Picard season 3. Come on,
yes.
You admit you cried.
All right, so that's all for today. We rambled on for the last 20 minutes. We probably should have shut it off after talking about Revan.
Yeah.
But
unfortunately, we have audio.
We get all of it. We get all of our angry stuff out.
Maybe people are like, you know what? You guys need more delay between episodes because
they're probably like
it's every week thing. It's just not working out.
Every week rambling. You cuss out Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah, we should just have a segment. Just be like, all right, just let it loose.
Yeah. No, we've said it before, and we'll probably say it next week.
I've been hurt deep. Okay, this is my therapy.
Yes, it is. Like when I got so angry last week, it's because I was holding it in for 2 weeks because this guy kept, you couldn't do it at that time, and so I'd been building up this anger about this Rey director and her lack of knowledge of Star Wars, and that she hates men, and then poor Daisy Ridley is going to have to come in. Oh, the story's so good. And that lady will fuck it up. I don't care what story they have written. Number one, it doesn't go with Legends continuity.
We need
this
space
is all
puppies.
New stuff. And when you get all new stuff and then you're a man hater, which means she doesn't want George Lucas anywhere around, right?
Well,
or maybe she does, and she wants to make George Lucas feel uncomfortable.
He made me feel uncomfortable with Jar Jar.
Maybe she'll film a scene of Rey with a strap on, screwing somebody, and make George Lucas feel uncomfortable.
Now you got my attention again.
See what I'm saying?
Now you're going to get me to pay some money.
There you go. Make George uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I don't know. The whole thing, it just drove me nuts. So I was just like, I blew off some steam last week, but I'm back now.
Let's hope.
I love everything that's planned except for that.
Yeah.
And then I will be honest, I'm an optimist. I will pray and keep my fingers crossed that the new Rey movie is amazing and goes down an amazing path, has great writing, that this director who hates men and who doesn't know Star Wars somehow pulls a great movie out of her ass and does. I will pray that happens because that would be good for Star Wars. But I have no faith in that. But all the other stuff that's been announced, I am jumping up and down happy, but they got to get rid of Kathleen Kennedy. They got to let her go. No more signing her to extension or contract or anything.
What happens if they replace Kathleen Kennedy with Darth Malgus?
Then Star Wars is going to get good. There's going to be a lot of death. There's going to a lot of be evil strategy. Star Wars will rise to the top. All right. That's it for today, and we will be back next week.
Thank you very much.